Hi, my name is Alan Cucci. I'm in the Communications 101 at Ivy Tech. Today I'm going to be uh, doing my persuasion speech on video game violence and the fact that it does not affect today's kids. Today's kids, anytime there's a lot of violence and they find out that the kids play video games a lot, you always hear that it's because of the video games, or sometimes you hear about music and stuff like that. But the majority of it nowadays is all about the video games. You'll have parents talking about how these 13 or 14-year-old kids are fighting all the time because they are playing games like Gears of War for the Xbox, um, Modern Warfare 2, or the first Modern Warfare, any of the Call of Duty series. Games like Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2, those are just some of the examples for the Xbox. When you look at these games, they all have an M for mature in the bottom left-hand corner, which means that you have to be 17 years or older to purchase the game or rent the game, and that's what they recommend for playing the game. So obviously, a kid that is 12, 13, 14 years old probably shouldn't play this game, because one example of some of the violence in this game is the character will actually hunt people down, and he will have like sword fights in the middle of it, in the middle of areas, or he can sneak up behind people and actually stab them in the back or in the neck and kill them. Um, that's one example of video game violence. Then, like I said, the Modern Warfare games. These also have the M for mature ratings. So once again, 17 years or older to purchase and get. Um, these games are all about war and stuff like that now, where you're hunting down terrorists or fighting the war in Afghanistan, acting it out in the game. So there's explosions, gunfights. You can actually stab people with knives in the game. And then you can go online and play other people where you're doing the same thing. So this is another game that has a lot of mature things in it. It's got some cussing, plenty of violence. Um, then there's games which are more appropriate for everybody, or for some of the teenagers and older kids, like Rock Band, for example. It's rated teen. Um, it's rated teen because of it has some of the lyrics and some of the songs on there are a little more offensive to some. Um, but overall, it's not a bad game. There are several games like Rock Band. There's Guitar Hero, stuff like that now. Those are more appropriate for the younger kids that are playing these games like Modern Warfare and Assassin's Creed, Gears of War, things like that. Um, and then there's sports games. This is one example. It's rated E for everyone, and you can find these ratings on every game. It's required to be on there, so um, it's kind of hard to understand why parents are blaming the video games for causing the violence in the younger kids when the younger kids aren't even supposed to be able to get the games or play the games. So I think one thing that needs to happen first is parents need to go in and see what games exactly their kids have. Whether if it's a 13-year-old kid and they have games that are rated M for mature and have a lot of violence and stuff, then the parents should definitely take a look at maybe how their child behaves. After they play a game like Assassin's Creed, do they go out and run around and attack people and jump on people? Um, if they do, then maybe that isn't a game that's appropriate for their child. Um, but as far as the games actually causing violence in the kids, I don't think that the games themselves are what's causing the violence. Just because somebody is exposed to violence in a video game doesn't mean that they're going to go out and murder somebody or rob them or beat them up for whatever reason. Most kids see on TV. Shows, you have shows like SpongeBob, for example, where um, there's an episode of SpongeBob where they're fighting like they're martial artists. Then you've got shows where they're using X-Men, for example, has all kinds of fighting. Granted, there's no language, no one actually dies, but look at all the violence in X-Men. The whole show is, for the most part, nothing but fighting. Um, so the violence itself is in basically everything that you see today. So how it can be narrowed down to specifically video games, I'm not, I find that hard to believe. Most studies that you might see or read about on video game violence go from the extreme of the games are what's causing the violence to um, after people, for example, after people play the games, um, then the studies show that over a 3 to 6 month period, that after playing these games on a regular basis or playing for so many hours each day, that they have actually become more violent, and that it's a very noticeable. And then you've got most of the games, or most of the actual studies that you see will actually show that there might be there on some people there are an increase, but the increase in aggressiveness, for example, is so small that you really can't tell. Um, I mean, you can tell, but it's not like a major things where they can see it. But in the end, I think what it boils down to is the violence in video games is something that's easy. It's an easy cop out for maybe a lack of parenting or things like that. Um, but that's just my opinion. Thanks.